So this past weekend, I put up a poll on our Instagram story where I asked you guys, our followers, the most overrated players in NBA history. And you guys gave some interesting responses. So I have the 5 most responded names, the 5 most common answers, I'll put it that way. And I'm going to set up a debate-style format where you guys are going to tell me, I'm going to pick 2 of you, each of you are going to make your case as to why this player is not overrated or why they are. So the way I'm setting this up is I had you 2 in mind as the debaters, and then I had you and Pete as judges. If you want to hop in and switch if you guys want to figure out who's doing what.
I'm totally cool as a judge.
Okay, perfect.
You don't want to debate?
Bro.
If I have something to say, I'll say it.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. So the way I had it set up was I'm going to drop the name, and then I'm going to say, Chris, you're going to tell me why he's overrated. Matt, you're going to tell me why he's not. I'm going to give you guys a minute to like formulate your argument just so it's cohesive and you're not just, like saying thoughts as they pop into your head. And then you each get 2 minutes to present your case and a 45-second rebuttal.
2 minutes is a long fucking time.
You want to do a minute and a half?
Yeah.
All right, minute and a half to present your case, and then a 45-second rebuttal, and then Dean's going to make his decision on who made the better case. So you have to try and not use your prior knowledge on this one. All right?
All right.
So,
Oh, nice.
first up, the most common answer was Carmelo Anthony. So,
I wonder
Matt,
who said that.
I'm going to have you debate why Carmelo Anthony is overrated. Chris, you're going to debate why he's not overrated. So I'm going to put a minute timer.
So am I debating that he's underrated or just that
he's not overrated?
Okay, that's fine.
So
That's fine.
I'd say in your arguments, try to establish where he should be all time. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because overrated can be a little subjective, so we want to try and create some parameters
ready.
for it. You ready to go?
Yeah, I don't need stats for this one.
No,
brother.
you don't have to look up stats or just so you.
Oh, I'm good to go.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Melo is very simple.
All right, let me put the timer up. Hold on.
Dean, you have any thoughts?
On the most overrated players between...
Well, what do you think about
Who's
Carmelo
that?
Anthony being overrated?
I think when we were in 2009, 2010, he wasn't overrated, but I think if you take a step back and look at his career as a whole, it's a bit underwhelming.
Yes.
I think if you look at his accolades and look at what he accomplished, it's less than what he should have done given how good he was.
I agree.
Right. So with that being said, Matt, I'm going to let you go first. You got a minute 30 to tell me why Carmelo Anthony is overrated starting now.
I just think discourse around Carmelo Anthony is disgustingly nostalgic because we look back and we remember some great moments for sure, but when you actually take a broad view of what Carmelo Anthony was able to accomplish in his career, it's a whole lot of nothing. The man has had cool, 25 to 30 point per game seasons, but we all look at Carmelo Anthony as a scorer, and his career field goal percentage is 44%. If I look at a guy as a scorer, as a volume scorer at that, I am going to look at a guy that is going to be efficient throughout the entirety of their career, because efficient scorers are what you look for, number one. And if you're not going to be incredibly efficient, at least bring me something playmaking, at least bring me something defensively, and not just yell, get the fuck out of here when you're going to get a rebound. I'd like for you to do more on the basketball court if I'm going to look at you as a superstar. I will never look at you as a superstar if all you can do is just score. And that was what Melo was known for. And that is all Melo was ever known for, because he never elevated his teammates, never made them better. He, correct me if I'm wrong, made the conference finals one time in his career with Denver, and that was it. Never made an NBA finals, never elevated a teammate. That's not a superstar. That is not Carmelo Anthony.
All right. And there you go.
Would you
Chill with that.
Would you say that, part of him not making the conference finals was just being in an East with the freaking Heatles, dude?
I mean, he lost to the Pacers.
Yep.
Didn't make things easier, though.
He lost to teams that he never should have lost to, though. And the Heat, I remember we all looked back at it, and we thought the Knicks actually had a legitimate chance at beating the Heat.
That one
Well,
year,
we're
the
also Knicks fans,
2012, 2013 season was the
in
one year.
NBA discourse in general, people thought the Knicks could beat the Heat back then. We had a great team, and we couldn't get it done. And I mean, granted, it's LeBron and Wade, but still, If you're that guy,
Was that when Amari punched the fire extinguisher?
No,
that was when Amari was healthy.
Oh, okay.
All
right.
So yeah, you're that guy.
Chris, your minute and a half begins now.
Carmelo Anthony. He says he's not a winner. Carmelo Anthony is a national champion.
Come on. Fucking Christ. Come
Carmelo
on,
Anthony
Chris.
is a national champion. That matters. He knows how to win. These teams just did a bad job constructing around him. The Knicks in 2012, 2013, it was a great year. And yeah, Melo and the rest of the guys came up short. But what did they expect to happen in the future? When they assembled their team of all 45-year-old men, they got old. And Melo had no help. And Phil Jackson came to town and ruined our glorious king, Carmelo Anthony. But I promise you, there aren't 25 players in NBA history who are better at jab, pull than Carmelo Anthony. It don't matter about the stats. Don't matter about the wins and losses. Carmelo Anthony passes the aura check. That's all I need to say.
You still got 30 seconds. You don't-
That's all I need to say.
Can I take the other 20 seconds?
No, you're gonna get a rebuttal right now.
Oh, okay,
All right, I'll do a 30-second rebuttal.
I mean, I think.
That's the argument of a man that doesn't believe what he just fucking said.
Yeah, I mean, Carmelo Anthony is the perfect second fiddle.
Yes.
He's the perfect second fiddle, but he's not the guy that we look back and think that he is. Especially as Knicks fans, when we look back in Knicks history, we think of him as like a top 5 Knick of all time. Unfortunately, our franchise is just that bad.
I'm gonna be honest with
But
you. Jalen Brunson is already a greater Knick.
already
all
a
time.
better Knick. Already a better Knick.
Argue with a fucking wall. It's the truth.
Sure.
So, unfortunately, in professional sports leagues, you need results. Carmelo Anthony ain't never get no results.
I agree. I mean, that's kind of, and you could start a timer on the rebuttal. You don't even need to do that. It doesn't matter. It's just discourse now. I
don't really think Melo's overrated in the grand scheme of things. So, like, where's he rated? He's a top 50 player of all time. Think he's not a top 50 player of all time. He's a fucking 10-time All-Star, 6-time first-team All-NBA scoring champ.
I mean, I can't rattle you 50 players.
You're not
going
to get to 50
right
guys better at basketball than Carmelo Anthony.
I don't know. I don't know.
You're not.
Like I said. I mean, if you want to put him as
Well, you
50,
were one.
whatever.
You said he was overrated. So where do you think he's rated that he shouldn't be?
I think he's on the edge of like the top 70 all time. I don't
think Melo never won because of how he plays, like, ever. I think towards the end of the career, yeah, because he couldn't adjust to being
role player.
not even a role player, but not the guy. But I think when he was the guy, like, he was good enough in Denver to get past the Lakers, and Kobe was just on one. In New York, like I said, like, I genuinely believe that the Knicks completely failed constructing a roster around him. They constructed a roster in 2012, 2013 that was a ticking time bomb, and they only had one chance, and it was with the relatively new head coach. And granted, they did everything right in that 2013 season after Linsanity, Raymond Felton coming back. You had Jason Kidd, you had Sheed, you had Marcus Camby, but you had Pablo Prigioni, but the roster was a ticking time bomb. These guys were all 35 plus years old, and he should have got out of the second round. They should have beat the Pacers. He folded, yes. But everything after that, when they brought in Phil Jackson, he didn't have a chance after that. I'm sorry,
No.
the last 3 to 4, maybe even 5 years of Melo's prime, he didn't have a chance.
I don't disagree with that, but it's also the fact that in the years that he did have his best chances, the guy is a sub 40% shooter in playoffs. That's insane. From a superstar, I don't give a fuck what your situation is. You should never be sub 40% as a superstar in the play. I don't care. You're not a playoff riser. Carmelo just wasn't.
I agree. He's not a playoff riser. James Harden, and I think James Harden clears Melo, but
he does.
James Harden's not a playoff riser either.
But his
so
stats
James
weren't.
Harden not a superstar. You
But
know what
his
I'm saying?
weren't a significant. And also, James Harden always made his teammates better. Always made his teammates better. He's one of the best playmakers in NBA history.
I guess.
That's a big difference. Not only
He's
was he a
also guard.
35 point per
Melo's
game
a forward.
But if you're a superstar, make the guys around you better.
I think the guys around Melo got better
Or at least
inherently
do
by playing with
something,
Carmelo Anthony.
or at least do something else.
He was getting doubled
at an elite level.
every night.
The only thing
He was an
Melo ever
elite
did that was elite
rebounder.
was score.
I think Melo made J.R. Smith better. He made Raymond Felton better.
Yeah.
Raymond Felton blows, but he was good when he was with Carmelo Anthony.
Blow.
No,
He was
yeah,
not good.
But people, it's not like Melo made no one better. Melo had gravity as a scorer that inherently made the people
Yeah.
around him better.
But then what else did Melo do good?
Nothing. I'm not
Exactly.
saying he did anything else good.
That's,
he was a great
that's a
rebounder.
problem.
Yeah.
He was a great rebounder.
That's a problem, though. How am I going to consider you like a superstar if all you do is score and you don't
He
even
did
do
it
that
at the
to
best
a...
level in the
Well, I think you
league
could be a
at that time.
superstar. And
In an era where dudes weren't shooting like 50% and shit like that in like the early 2000s and shit, like all field goal, if you look at like everyone from that era's field goal
Yeah, it was the
percentage.
dead ball. Yeah, it was the dead ball.
low.
era. They weren't scoring.
And there are
But
people who say Kobe's the GOAT. Kobe's shooting percentages aren't that good. Like it was that era.
Kobe's like a career like 29% 3-point shooter.
yeah, he is. I mean, but also like
I
I looked
agree
at
with
Kobe
some
right
of
now,
your
it-
sentiment, but like saying Melo wasn't a superstar is like that's wrong. That's not right.
Melo in his prime was a superstar, but he wasn't a superstar that I would have taken to go win a championship. He's a superstar that's going to put up numbers.
And Melo also
that's
never
cool.
had the fucking infrastructure around him to adjust his game until later on when he got with OKC, but like OKC greased the shit out of him. We know that story. So,
Yeah, he got
but like even with the Knicks team that was mad good, the Knicks team in 2013 wasn't mad good because they had a bunch of like great offensive players. They were a great defensive team around Melo, but like he didn't have options to defer to if they weren't wide open. Landry Fields wasn't killing you off the catch. Shump wasn't killing you off the dribble.
No.
It was Jason Kidd wasn't at 40 years old, wasn't killing you off the dribble. It's a bunch of catch and shoot guys. How much was? I feel like Melo got the most out of that group. That year, Melo was good enough as a number one to get over the hump. They fell short.
Melo
but-
too, like even in
that's
Denver,
the thing, they
like
fell
went toe to toe with Kobe. Like so, I think Melo in his prime, like later years no, but he was good enough, I think, to be a. to build
Yeah,
a
I mean, I
championship
guess
team
based
around
on the
it. I
facts,
think
he
so.
wasn't because he didn't do it. But like,
I guess so, but like
He
I
never
believe
had
James
like a Pau
Harden was
Gasol.
good enough to get the
Right.
job done. He just didn't. I think a lot of people believe Chris Paul was good enough to get the job done. He just hasn't. Like, I don't know. I think Melo's in that tier.
But that's the like I don't think he's I would have 100% taken prime Chris Paul and prime James Harden over Melo 100 out of 100.
Well, James Harden
would-
I
won-
don't even
Yeah,
think it's
I agree.
close for me personally.
James Harden won an MVP.
James Harden is one of the greatest scorers and passers we've ever seen in the game.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. They're both better than Carmelo Anthony all time.
Significantly.
Sure.
That's where
I'd say so.
stand.
Yeah, I don't know where like general discourse is at as far as that goes, but I'm sure they. I mean,
In this
Harden
era,
has an MVP,
era of basketball where like you need to have a guard to dominate your offense, basically. Like, I'd take Chris Paul and James Harden over Carmelo Anthony.
But those
in
are two of the best
early
offensive players ever.
2000s, like,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Ever.
100%.
And engines of an offense too.
Right.
And Melo just wasn't an engine, and it's not a knock on
But that's
Carmelo
where
Anthony.
your
Paul
point
Pierce
comes in.
wasn't a engine
He's a-
of an offense. Dominique
would've been a
Wilkins
perfect two.
wasn't an engine.
He would have been a perfect two. That's where I'm with Dean on that. I think he's
think
the
that
perfect.
Today's
Yeah,
era where
yeah.
your number one has to be a guy dominating the ball, sure. In Melo's era of his prime, you didn't have to be a fucking guard to be the best player on a team, a championship team. Even you look at, and I know you're gonna say, well, Jokic is a guard, basically. Like Jokic is playing like a guard.
Well, no,
dominating the ball.
you need to be a great passer and scorer nowadays. You have to be both.
Sure.
It's how it works. Yeah.
Right, Melo didn't come up in this era. There were
Agree, but that
Kobe wasn't.
but even back then, like
Kobe wasn't
Kobe,
playing like
Kobe was great at other things.
Yeah, I'm not saying Melo's Kobe, but what I'm saying is
But that's what I'm saying. He never got it done.
You're
He
holding him
was so,
to modern standards.
No, but even back then, he was so one-dimensional that's why he
I don't
never
think
got the
that's
job
why
done.
he
I don't,
never got the
I don't
job
think that's
done.
why either. I feel
Bro, I
like
don't
in
know. You
09
shoot 40% from the field in the playoffs,
That
and you're
matters.
supposed to be
So
a
in-
bucket
so
getter.
in
Like, come on,
09
what are we doing?
In the 09 playoffs, when they made the Western Conference Finals, he averaged 27, 5 and 4 on 45% shooting.
That's
Like,
good.
That's pretty good. And the games against Kobe, he had the one stinker. He had 15 on 3 of 16, really bad. 21 on 4 of 13. But like he dropped 34 and 25 and 31 against Kobe. Like
and now in the Knicks, what do you go to the playoffs
like,
with the Knicks 3 times? The first year he got there, they lost to the Celtics in the first round. The second year was when they lost to the Pacers, the second year they lost to the Heat.
In the first round.
And that was Lynn's sanity year, but Jeremy Lin got hurt at the end of the season. Their second best player all year got hurt. That was when Stat punched the fire extinguisher. Yeah. They never had it, and it was the fucking Heatles. They never had a chance.
Never stood a chance, yeah.
And then the third year they lost to the Pacers. If you want to point that out and say that's why Melo's on all-time.
Yeah, they got swept by Boston.
Yeah.
4-1 by Miami. They beat Boston in 2013. Lost to Indiana.
Yeah.
Right after that. Yeah. So.
If you want to put the Indiana one on Melo, that's fine. But, like, the other one's, like, what? I don't know.
Bad numbers, man. It's just, I don't know. I guess maybe I look too much into stats, but I don't know. If you're going to be a superstar, even then, you got to bring something else to the table. Like, if you're going to have an off shooting night, I got to be able to rely on you.
Do you think Melo wasn't a superstar?
I think he's a superstar, but I just think he was the worst of the superstars back then.
But he wasn't. He wasn't the worst of the superstars in that era. He just wasn't.
He was not on the level of majority of the guys back then, in my personal
But he
opinion.
was. When we were in
Kobe, LeBron,
2010, 2011.
Dirk, taking Dirk over him, obviously.
He was, but people thought of him on that level. Like, he was no slouch. He was
looked at,
He was a top 7 player in the league.
I mean, Dirk was only a great scorer, too. Dirk just happened to get over the hump. And, like, it was generational, the way he got over the hump.
Yeah, Dirk was a notorious playoff choker until 2011.
Until that 2011. Yeah, until that 2011.
But yeah, Dirk really was a scorer, too, and, you know.
He eventually got it done. That changed the whole
No,
narrative.
obviously,
that rewrites the whole narrative.
100%.
That's the thing. So, I don't know. I've just always thought because of the, and I guess it's only because I live in New York,
I thought the Knicks with
too.
Melo just, like, two things could be true. Like, sure, he wasn't good enough, but also, like, we have to acknowledge the fact that the Knicks roster building never gave him a fair
so
chance.
bad after that original roster. But regardless, like
even that original roster, like, I mean, you guys might have thought, I probably thought at the time too, because I was rooting for them. But a team led by Carmelo Anthony and a bunch of fucking 38-year-olds was never gonna. Even if they beat Indiana, they weren't beating the fucking Heatles.
No,
bro. Like, come on.
Well, the Knicks initially, when they
should've
traded
beat
for
Indiana.
Melo,
Yeah.
they didn't need to trade for Melo.
Yeah, he
He
wasn't.
was going to come to the Knicks, and they didn't have to give up all their assets.
Yeah.
But they jumped the gun and did it at the deadline.
bro.
Yeah.
They gave up who? Like,
Gallo.
Yeah, why
Gallo
did they
was
do
on
that?
it.
Joe Gallo. They gave up Joe
they
Gallo.
didn't even make
bro.
the playoffs that season, did they?
No.
They just missed it.
They gave up Gallo.
They were in the
Felton,
playoff
Wilson,
picture, and
Chandler.
then got Melo and fell off.
Gallo, Felton, and Wilson Chandler.
And they got back Chauncey Billups, bruh.
Yeah.
Chauncey Billups.
Yeah, it's a rough one, bro.
It was rough.
We gave up role players that like would have produced for us.
Things would have been way different for the Knicks if they waited for the offseason to do that.
Sign Melo, yeah.
I agree. I think revisionist history. You could probably say that.
I think even at the time, I remember people saying
Melo was going to.
everyone at the time said that.
yeah,
Like everyone at the time was
not
pissed.
need to trade for him.
Yeah.
it was basically like the unsaid thing that was gonna happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know. I guess it's just because I also live in New York, so we live in New York.
Right.
All I hear about is like Carmelo Anthony being like this god
Right.
amongst the New York media and stuff, and it's just like, bro, I don't see that.
Well, that
Where?
has less
What
to
did
do
he
with
accomplish?
That has less to do with Carmelo Anthony than it does how bad the Knicks franchise has been.
Fucking Jalen
Right.
Brunson like a god.
Because he is.
What has he accomplished? What are we talking about?
Bro, he turned the same poverty franchise that Melo was with, he turned that into a legitimate contender for a couple years.
But you could argue
Bro.
back in Melo's era, it was Stat that took the first leap, and like with this Knicks team, it was Julius Randle who took the first step.
And we still look at Randall as that
better.
fucking guy for us too. We
Randle
love
was a
him.
great Knick.
But
Randall
Brunson
never.
isn't the one fucking making the roster moves, gang. The roster building is significant. Look at who's running the show. Like, the roster building. The Knicks are just a better organization. That's not because of Jalen. And what has Jalen Brunson accomplished? The
Okay,
same
ready?
shit
If you're
Melo
gonna do that,
has.
what did Brunson do in the playoffs?
Go to the second round.
But what was he averaging in that second round series?
He went to
He
the
wasn't
second
choking.
round.
He wasn't choking.
Went to the second round, bro.
But he wasn't choking.
No.
They lost to the Pacers too.
Bro,
Both
if
of
Brunson by himself, stop that. The entire team was hurt.
Carmelo and Brunson both lost to the Pacers.
We're
The
not
entire
gonna get up
fucking
here
team
and
was
act
hurt.
like Melo wasn't a god, but then say this guy's a god.
Bro,
Get
there's
outta
a
here,
difference.
bro.
There's a difference.
There's no difference.
There's a big
There's
difference,
no
actually.
There is no difference. I think
There's
Brunson's
no difference.
Brunson's a scorer, same kind of thing. I think they're honestly on the same tier of player. Like it's like,
Brunson is looked at as a god because no matter what, he was stepping up in the biggest moments for us.
but it hasn't.
Melo would do that in the regular
but
season.
just-
Not doing that shit in the playoffs.
But
I
just
don't
like
give
the
a fuck.
point you made before, where like that doesn't matter. You need results in the NBA. There hasn't been no results, and the Knicks actually just got worse.
Right, I think with Brunson, it's definitely like there's some projecting too, because like it's still, we still have Brunson in his what we hope is still his prime for the next few years. Like Melo
Right.
already happened, so we can look back on that.
Right.
Like,
My mind will be changed once the Knicks make the Eastern Conference Finals. But until that happens, he's not better than Carmelo Anthony.
Nah, you could say he's better than Melo.
He
I
is
don't
better
mind
than
that.
Melo.
I mean,
I mean,
I don't mind that.
I mean, is he?
Yeah.
for the Knicks,
I don't know, man.
it is tough because Chris is right. Like it's a totally different regime. Had Melo actually had a competent organization around him, we don't know what would have happened. But like just because of that, like we don't know.
I'm not
Like,
going to be so
you know?
quick to say Jalen Brunson's a better basketball
it's
player
just
than Carmelo
hilarious
Anthony
because
was.
we're getting up here and we're like severely pointing out Melo's flaws, and that's the sake of the argument. He's overrated, but like we're not. What we're not going to do is like disregard the fact that the Knicks are a good team. They have Jalen Brunson. Cool. One of the biggest questions with the Knicks going into the playoffs is Jalen Brunson's defense and how he will get picked on.
That's not the question for the Knicks this year.
That's a big question
Big
for the
talking
Knicks
point
this
for
year.
sure. Yeah,
That is not the question for the Knicks this year.
Big
That's not what he said.
question with the Knicks. That's
you
a
said a big.
And
question.
Brunson
You
has
said a big question.
always defended bigger than his size. He wasn't getting picked on as bad at near.
We
he was
didn't even
not
get
getting
to see
picked on
how
like
he
that.
would get picked on by the Celtics because they lost to the fucking Pacers.
Bro, they lost to the Pacers because Brunson was going 1-on-5. Who did he have for that series? OG was hurt. Julius was hurt. What the fuck are we? What are we doing? Like, what are we supposed to do with that?
Melo went against the Heat without Jeremy Lin, who had basically an insane year, and Amari Stoudemire punched a fire
He
extinguisher.
wasn't fucking beating them because he couldn't beat the Pacers the next year with a healthy team.
But that year, he lost to the Heat, and his team was
Well, we did just
unhealthy.
establish they were never going to beat the Heat.
For sure, but
Yeah.
but for the sake of the argument,
I guess. Yeah.
if Jalen Brunson gets a way out because of the injury.
I just don't think it's so
like
clear
it's not
cut
that different.
that
It's not that
Jalen
different.
Brunson's like a
I-
better.
It is different because we went to 7.
Y'all lost, bro. Jalen Brunson's not that guy.
against Tyrese
I
Halliburton.
don't know if that's
bruh.
the takeaway against the Pacers series that Brunson's not that guy.
No, not against but if the takeaway is Melo's not that guy who could be a number one, I'm like Brunson's not a guy who
see,
could be
like,
a
I,
number
yeah,
one
like,
either.
I think Melo
Like,
could have been a number one.
He's not
but-
this god, bro. He's not. He's a good basketball
He's
player.
not.
Also
I don't think he's a
player.
tier above Carmelo Anthony.
I don't think he's a tier above. I just think he's been better for the New York Knicks than Carmelo Anthony has.
I don't agree with that. I just don't.
I just don't see how you don't.
Carmelo Anthony was a perennial All-Star. We were going to the playoffs. We were a good team for a little while. And same thing with the Knicks now. We've been a good team for a couple years now, right? Like we still haven't done anything either way.
Either
10 years
way.
ago now doesn't matter. We haven't done anything. We haven't made the conference finals.
It's
either
actually
way.
so similar what it's been
Like,
honest.
to this point, yes, but like we just signed Jalen Brunson to a 4 or 5 year extension, whatever it was. So like we
I know,
still have
and the Knicks
plenty of more
recent-
time. to
And
do
bro
this, you know what I
took-
mean? So-
yeah, the Knicks
And bro
re-signed
took
Melo.
a fucking pay cut.
And we
which
regressed.
matters to me.
Melo and then brought in Phil Jackson, and the shit went to shit. Like,
no, I
And we regressed.
like just because y'all
100%.
re-signed Brunson doesn't mean that y'all are gonna get over the hump. Like, sure, like you guys are fans, be optimistic, but like,
Bro, if you make
that's
a
what I'm saying. I'm
conference-
saying the jury's still out. That's
if you
all,
make
know,
a
like-
fucking conference finals in the
right,
Jalen
but
Brunson era, he's already
but if we're
fucking done
arguing
better.
Carmelo Anthony and
Okay,
Jalen
but he has-
Brunson, we got to throw
There's not that
projection
much.
He's been
out
good in the
we gotta
playoffs,
throw
though.
projection
Yeah, no,
out
But he
the
hasn't
window.
made the
What have
conference
you- what have
finals.
you done
Like you're
so far?
saying, if he does, if he does make it, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
as of
done
right
more
now,
than
they're
Carmelo
both-
Anthony.
they're both
Sure.
second round
Melo
exits, but-
was a big reason as to why we didn't make the fucking conference finals.
Okay.
Brunson
still
was not
haven't
at all
made
the
it.
reason. Not at all.
Okay.
Played his fucking ass off.
I have to see more out of him, bro. He needs to do something. They need a win, bro. I'm not gonna sit here and
Right, if
and
we
be
get
like,
another 2-3 years of second round exits, like
right. What
not-
the hell?
it's
That
not-
doesn't
I'm
do
not happy
anything
with
for
that,
me.
yeah.
That just sets us back, and we're
God
gonna have to go
forbid
through
y'all
another
lose in the
rebuild.
first round this year, man.
yeah, even that, yeah.
I could so see it happening too to a bad team.
The
It's gonna be
Pistons.
so sad.
The
Yeah,
We
it's
could
3-6
definitely lose to the
matchup versus
Pistons in the
the
gonna
first
be
round.
so sad.
Wouldn't be surprised, bro. This team is.
And what do you do then, Matt? What do you do then when the Knicks get bounced by the Pistons?
It's a good question.
It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be Brunson's
We
fault.
traded fucking 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges.
So you're gonna just shift the blame off Brunson again?
No,
Okay.
because I mean, if you're a superstar, you're supposed to elevate your team.
It's so similar to Melo.
As of now,
the front
yeah.
office fucked up again here too.
Yeah.
Because they're stuck now.
They are
'cause
actually very
traded
similar
for
situations.
Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow us on all of our socials.
Make sure you guys check out the full podcast popping up on the screen right now if you guys like this type of content.